This conference will now be recorded.
That's your bell. Ding, ding.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the COCA Gold Ribbon Portal introduction. My name is Don. If you don't know, please speak up and ask any questions you might happen to have. It looks like quite a few people on the line. This is great. I will just jump right into this if unless anybody wants to have a question to get started. Otherwise, I'm going to just sort of jump into this and we'll get going. It's actually a relatively short orientation to this portal. So let's go ahead and get started. The link that Jennifer sent, and you all should have it, should take you, should take you to this sign-in screen right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in as if I were a visitor, and this happens to be Marcy's sign-in. So let me pull this up.
Are you signing into the portal right now?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to try here. Okay.
The period's on it.
Well, no, actually, here we go. Now, your sign-ins are based on Microsoft Com email addresses, okay? And they're really not that complicated. They're really kind of long, but they're not that complicated. We tried to create usernames for you. In this particular case, it's Marcy Shea Perry, that are relatively easy to understand. After the @ sign, it's actually relatively simple. It's @, and you have this big string of characters, but the way that it reads is COCA, @COCA, which is us, dot, and then it's on Microsoft.com. So while that's a big, long sign-in, it actually makes a certain amount of sense. And when we were setting your accounts up, we tried to make the this portion before the @ sign close to your name so it would be easy to understand. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. You signed in, use the email address that was provided to you, and then
okay, we each have our own personal email.
You do. You have your own personal email.
Okay.
And what we will do is this. As things progress here, messages will be sent from certain portions of the portal. For instance, when a camp goes through and makes changes, and they decide that their uploads are complete, they'll have the ability to do nothing more than just simply pressing a button. Emails automatically get sent to their quote-unquote gold ribbon team, which would be the email which gets sent to them, as well as the visitors that are involved, as well as the administrative people, which would be Jennifer and myself. But what we will do is at the end of the day, we will take these long, extensive email addresses that Microsoft has assigned to you, which we have to use for login purposes, but we'll have those automatically forwarded to the email addresses that you normally use. So does that make sense? Okay, so then you enter your password, and let's see if the magic works here. This always comes up and says, do you want to stay signed in? I usually will respond no to that, only because when you do that, you end up putting all this information in cache, and it can be kind of aggravating to log out at times. So I think I heard a question. No?
Nope.
Okay, is everybody with me so far? We'll go ahead and continue on. Okay, so this is the welcome screen. Now, in most cases, most visitors are assigned a single camp, right? And if there's a single camp, what you will see is the campsite and the name of that particular camp. In the case of Marcy, she's actually going to be visiting, well, actually it's going to be she shows up as being a visitor for 3 separate camps: Camp Good Times, Canadian Cancer Society, Camp Blue Can on Tip of the Toes, Quebec. In your case, if you're only going to be visiting one camp, you're going to see you won't have this drop-down selection. If you're going to be visiting more than one camp, you will be presented with the camps that you're assigned to. And in that particular case, it's just going to be kind of up to you to click the drop-down arrow here and select which camp that you want to interact with on that particular occasion. So let's go to on Tip of the Toes down here. And the whole theory, the whole design idea behind this portal user interface is something that they call Hulk smash. Now, I'm not a great big Marvel Comics fan.
Don, oh my gosh, you have to be.
Okay, there's enough out there. You know what this is all about, and that is that you're going to be on screens in which there's only one or two relatively simple things to do, and you don't have to make a whole lot of decisions, right? And it's really kind of linear, and that's why they say it's Hulk smash, because Hulk could look at this screen and know there's only one thing for him to do, and he's going to hit review standard. Okay, so this is the screen. There are actually, I think there are 15 screens like this. They're virtually duplicate. The difference is each screen is for the individual standards, the individual gold ribbon standards. All right. And it's a linear thing. We start out with standard 1.1 and go all the way to standard 6.4. The screen design is the same. And we'll kind of go through this. Let's go through it on this main interface screen right here. Over on your left is titled, that'll tell you the name of the standard 1_1. This happens to be this particular date. This area of the screen is actually the standard itself as it currently exists in the COCA Gold Ribbon program. So you can use that as a reference point at all times, okay? Over in the left corner over here, this is actually, for the most part, for the camps themselves. This is where they do their work. The camps actually, as a visitor, some portions of this are disabled. But as a camp, there's over here, you have file upload. And if I sign in as a camp, right, there's a button there. And if you click, and what that allows the camps to do is to upload those files that are relevant to that particular standard, name the files, upload them, and then they end up being stacked over here in the right side. In this particular case, you can see on Tip of the Toes had upload 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different files that are applicable to the standard 1.1. And you're going to run into this. So sometimes there's only a single file, sometimes there's multiple files. I think in some cases camps will tend to, they either go upload too many files or too few files. Sometimes they'll upload the right number. But basically, this section up here is for the camps. And really, it's pretty much disabled. There's nothing you as a visitor can do here. The key thing for you is the section over here, which is all the uploaded files. The information is provided to you in two forms from the camps themselves. One is in this uploaded files section, and this is a dialog box in which the camps can add information, right? Explanatory information. As you come in as a visitor, all you have to do is click on these download arrows, and you should see the documents themselves. Those documents, almost all of them are either PDF files, Word documents, or image files, okay? And in 99% of the cases, your browser can go ahead and open those particular files and interpret them appropriately. If you run into problems, let me know. Usually it's just a standard and add-on for the file. It'll give you the ability to look and view the files. You can always download the files if you want to. You can always print the files from if you want to from the browser interface. So any questions on that? Okay, the next portion is down here that is relevant to you. Understand this is the file upload here. These are the uploaded files themselves. These are the comments for the camp to make. Down here is for you. This is to indicate that you have reviewed the uploaded files and the comments that have been made. It's simply a click button. You accepted them. Now, you can also make comments, right? So consequently, in a particular case, as a visitor, if you want to communicate or make back to the camp or make a comment, make it here. This is where we collect the information, and it will be something that we can refer to in the future. By the same token, we'll have the ability to generate reports off of this. So consequently, at the end of the process, we can send a report to the camp. They can read what your comments are, where perhaps you need to flesh out a policy, create a new policy, or whatever. And then, so, I would encourage both the camps as well as the visitors to use these dialog boxes as much as possible. Okay. So that's that. You click save, and that will just save your input here. And this reviewed by portion down here automatically will insert your name, right? So we know who reviewed it, whether it's accepted it on what date. Okay, it's just for continuity purposes and tracking purposes. There's a couple other areas on the portal that I want to point out. Any questions at this point in time before I move forward?
Don, I have one.
Okay.
I'm new to this, so like, what's an example of what you might put in the reviewed by? You said we should put stuff in there. Like, what would it be? Like, we don't understand it, or the accreditation is old or something?
Well, what I put in there, in some cases, the standards, and I'll navigate on down through to some of them. Some of our standards have multiple portions to them, and the easiest one I can think about right now relates to, Jen, help me out on this. It's the vaccination part of it, right?
Yeah.
Where there's a standard, and it says the standard should include, Jen, you're closer to this. There's 5 or 6 different portions of the standard.
Right. I think it's 5.4 or 5.2. So you might want to say in the review box, I see files uploaded for the following parts that relate to this standard. Can you show me your documentation for the last 3, items listed within the standard?
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Jen, is that you? Can you mute yourself for a minute? I'm wondering where that is coming from. Well, that's something better. Yeah, we'll go through some of these. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Whoever muted themselves did us all a big favor. So, anyways, if you see something where the policy is maybe not as extensive as it should be, it doesn't necessarily cover all the topics, you can just put suggestions in there that, have you thought about this? You probably should have a policy. You probably should include this, right? That kind of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure I was thinking the right thoughts.
Yeah. Now, yes,
Sorry, this is Liz from California. So do we not put accepted there? Do we not actually check the accepted button until we're completely satisfied, or how does?
Yes, no, that's what I would do. If you reviewed it and you feel like there's more work to be done, I would leave the accepted button open until you hear back from the camp and that particular requirement is met as far as you're concerned.
Okay.
Now, by the same token, one of the things that I think needs to be, you go in very aware of, and that is, I'm going to relate a little bit of a story. We were talking, Jennifer and I were talking to Rhonda Mickelson. Now, Rhonda is, I think she was the director of standards for the American Camp Association for the last 10, 12 years or something like that. And she has been in charge of, administering the American Camp Association standards and the way it works. And she's turned out to be quite a good friend to COCA and is interested in what we're doing. And when I asked her, I said, when you train your visitors, how do you train them in terms of interpreting your standards versus those of the camps, and what kind of direction do you provide back? Their philosophy, which I think is a very well thought out philosophy, is that the visitors look at standards from a quantitative standpoint, not qualitative. And effectively that means is that if the camp, say you've got a, I don't know, you've got a lifeguard policy, right? And the camp's policy says we're going to have lifeguards during full swim times, but it doesn't necessarily go into the detail in which you would feel particularly comfortable in terms of the number of lifeguards per swimmer or whatever. You can, as a visitor, ask the question, have you thought about expanding that policy to include this, 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 and this? But the fact that they have a policy from a quantitative standpoint, and then that addresses the standard that they're trying to meet, that actually that actually qualifies them as meeting that particular standard. One of the great parts in the last couple of years, as we've been going through this program, there's a lot of interaction between the visitors and the camps themselves, and there's a big learning process that goes on both ways. And overall, I think that in the next 5-10 years, as we proceed down the road with this, these standards are going to get better and better and better and better. But it's all based on this mentor relationship program, as opposed to green eye shade audit or kind of an approach to it. So, okay.
Yeah, one more question. I'm sorry to be particular. I'm one of the medical visitors. And so last summer we went to a day camp that there was a policy requested for, I can't remember if it was IV, something about IVs or something that they did not do in their camp. They would send someone to the hospital for those kind of things. But they didn't have any policy that stated that they don't do that in camp. They would send immediately to the hospital, and this is what needed to happen. Is that the kind, I mean, is that okay for us to request, or is that, does nobody care that that's?
No, I would request that. I mean, that's a best practices type of thing, right?
Okay.
And it's perfectly fair for the camp, to make a note and saying, we don't do this, but it's perfectly fair by the same token for us to register and say, listen, this is from a best practices standpoint. This is something you should have in place.
Nice. Okay.
Right? And both sides get better as a result of it. So.
Right.
Yeah, and Liz, I was just going to chime in. This is Jennifer. So from, in learning and all of this, and Brian being Brian Crater being my great teacher, he said, so the day camps that you're talking about, they do not administer any medication at that day camp. And so he said, so your policy in regards to that would be, in regards to, IV fluids for our campers while they're at day camp, we do not provide that procedure while the kids are in session at our day camp. And that is our policy is this: we do not provide IV meds. Just basically stating, and that's, I think, been one of the biggest learning curves for some of the camps, is to understand when it says a written policy. They said, well, we don't, and so I just simply suggest, so if that's not something that you're going to do or you can do at this time, then just state, at this time our camp cannot provide that,
right.
that for our patients, and that would be the policy.
Okay.
Those are really, really good questions. And that's something that we've been struggling with for some time, and probably, we're far from being able to have all the answers at hand. Every camp is a little bit different. They do things a little bit different.
Can I chime in just for a moment? This is Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike.
That's sort of exactly the point, Don, that you were making, that if the requirement is you need to have a policy, then there needs to be something written down which explains what their policy is, but it's not our job as visitors to judge necessarily whether that's a good policy or the best policy or the one that we would like the most.
Okay.
It's just to document that they have thought about it, that they have come to a decision and they have their own policy.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
in the medical arena especially, there's sort of shades of gray, and that some of the standards will say you need to have a policy and it needs to address the following specific issues. And so then it gets a little bit more complex, that you're not just checking yes, they have a policy, but they have talked about all of the specific things that are mentioned.
Right.
But basically the key is to follow exactly what the policy says and not what you think should be the best thing, or the way you do it, or the way you saw someone else did it that you think is amazing. It's just to verify that they're meeting the letter of the policy, or of the standard rather, as it's written.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that very much. There's a couple other things on the screen that I do want to point out. Down here in the bottom left, you can see view standard examples. These, for the most part, that is there, that's put there primarily for the camps. But if you click on that, Jennifer, over, I guess, a period of about 4 or 5 months, went out to our camps, and they were kind enough to provide us with examples of standards that have met approval for their standards, met approval for our standards. So here's some examples for standard 1.1, and they're always available. So as you go from one standard to the next, if you want to see what other camps have done that have proven to be successful, you can always do it by clicking on the view examples. Okay. The only other two parts to the screens, there's a couple other parts here. The back button is pretty much obvious. It's going to take you back. Next will take you to the next standard itself. I want to point out this up here says standard pending. That's going to be changing here in the next few weeks. We're going to, each one of the standards will have pending, open, or closed, or complete. And we're still trying to figure out quite how to work with that. But that's going to provide a status as the camp uses the standards, and then at the point after the visitors, they also will have the ability to change the status. So we can at any given time, there's a form that's being worked on right now in which you can scan down through all the standards and get a bird's eye view of the completion of the standard at any given time, sort of on a summary basis. So we're going to go really, and you can click save. You don't have to. This is automatically set up to save every time you do anything. But this whole idea of Hulk smash, making things simple. If you click next, it's going to take you to the next. It'll take you to the next standard and all the way down through. Okay. Now here's a case. This is just how simple this is to use. That it is set up purposefully so that you actually have to cycle from one standard to the next. It may be nice sometimes to be able to say go from standard 4.1 to 6.4, but that would just put further complexity on the screen itself. And we thought at this point in time, we're trying to keep this as simple as possible. And it really doesn't take that long to navigate from one screen to the next. Somebody had a question or a comment? Okay, well, I could tell you there's a whole lot of other things going on here, but quite frankly, this is where we stand right now. This is probably, like I say, we'll be working on this throughout the summer to put a whole lot of other capabilities into this. But right now, this is pretty functional. I think all the camps are up there. So you can, as visitors, go ahead and log in. It will take you to the camp that you're assigned to, and you can go right through this process from one to the next. There is one strange thing, and that is when you go to exit, you exit via this little X button up here, and it takes you back to the Microsoft Office, this screen. There's no way we can just have you get out of it. So what you do at that point in time, your screen, and I will send out some instructions on this, you are logged in, and what you really want to do is log out. Now you could just close your browser down, and that ultimately will log you out, or you can click the little icon up here and it will allow you then as well to sign out from this whole thing. At some point in time, this will be available via cell phones as well and tablets. Right now, we've got it set up like the way it is right now, simply because it's a little bit easier to use for desktop purposes. But there will be an app out there probably in the next 4 to 6 months, which you can actually use your cell phone. It'll be friendly and formatted appropriately for cell phones. So that is where we stand. We tried to make this as simple, as straightforward as possible for everybody. But that being said, I'm sure we're still going to have a lot of work to do on it. And I would request when you're working through this, if you see some points, you say, gee, if it did this, it would be so much better. This confuses me. If you give us that feedback, we'll work on improving this particular portal as much as possible. So that's all I got, guys. Anybody
Hey,
have any
Don.
questions?
It's Tracy. Couple questions. One, I know you'd mentioned that this particular Microsoft email address is going to be forwarded to our another email address that we check, correct?
I think that would be easier for everybody, Tracy. That's what my thought
Yeah,
was.
I've already checked 4 different email addresses a day. There's no way I'm gonna be able to check 5.
Well, that's I've got 3. So
yeah, it gets crazy, yeah. So I just want to make sure that was kind of in the works, so I wouldn't be like trying to figure out how to get to another email address, because I am technologically challenged, and I just admit it out loud. It makes my life easier. The other thing, when you were talking about scrolling through the screens, I can tell you that down the road it is going to be helpful if you can bounce between different standards, because as you tour camps and as you do different things, you're going to not have seen something on the visit until later, and you're going to be scrolling back and forth between all these different standards as you do your visit and conversation, and trying to remember which standard was held the content of what you needed to do and what you needed to check off on. So if there's ever a way you can create a way, maybe down the left column where just all the standard numbers are listed, and you could click on a number and go directly to that standard page, that would probably be very helpful.
We can do that, Tracy. And that's, we started out, with that in mind. And, that's one of those things I thought, well, we will do that.
Sure.
That will happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I just know I've got doing 3 ACA camps this year. And so, we bounce around between the standards all the time, because you don't always get to like analyze them in a beautiful, perfect order in which you would like. So it tends to be a little bit of a bouncing around process when you get to the camp.
Sure. Would a drop-down box be okay? Something like this?
Yeah. Anything where you could possibly like just go from 1.1 to 3.2 or 6.2 or whatever. Yeah, that would be great.
We can do that. Absolutely. Thanks for the input. I appreciate that.
I would second that. In the best of all possible worlds, if all the standards had been reviewed and accepted and everything was perfect, then you never need to go back and review it. But we don't live in the best of all possible worlds. So there's always a few things left hanging that need to be dealt with. I had a question too. Since we will have a peer visitor and a medical visitor, is the thought that they would sort of divide and conquer, and one would review some of the standards and the others? And is there a way that the system defines that for us, or do we just need to kind of work out who's going to do what?
You know, Mike, that's a good question. Right now, the way it's set up, both the medical visitor and peer visitor can access the portal. Okay, and this review by down here would record whoever is logged in that responded on that particular standard. We haven't made an effort to break the standards out or separate them out. You know, I mean, I think it's something we probably certainly could do. And if you wanted to have if we knew if COCA decided that standards 1.1 through 4.4 were to be peer visitors and the rest were medical visitors, we could do something like that if that's something that you think would be helpful, for sure.
Well, I think I haven't looked at it from the perspective of exactly how it might fall out, but it may be that there would be situations where different visitor pairs might divide it up a little bit differently. And so if it's just left to the two to decide who's going to do what, that's probably okay, but we probably need to make sure that the visitor pairs are talking to each other about who's going to do what, so that somebody doesn't go in to look at something and it's already been accepted and they have a problem with it or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, that I agree with that. Because you never want the responsibility of making a decision about a standard to be just on one person. So in essence, both people should be looking at all the standards. Sometimes the medical person will probably take the lead, and at other times the associate visitor would also take the lead. So it should be very much a team approach, and both people should ideally be at least looking and reading through all the standards and files.
Exactly. And both people should be able to make comments and ask questions, but then it'd be good to decide who was going to be the one to click the accept button.
Right. Well, I guess in that particular case, Mike, is that something that we should just include in the materials we send out to the peer and the medical visitor and say, please make sure you have an agreement? Or give them a worksheet or something like that to work from?
I think that would be fine.
Okay.
Last year, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Last year, you sent out a worksheet that was called the Gold Ribbon Visit Worksheet, and it was just a list of all of the standards, and it said document seen, document not seen, explanation, visitor. I don't know if you're going to have that again this year, but maybe you could slip in a column, with the who's approved, approval by, and those of us who are working together can sort of check off which ones we're doing.
Okay, we can certainly do that. Jennifer has taken notes. She's a note taker, so
yeah, I am. Duly noted.
The other, down the road as time gets down, we'll have some kind of a progress bar, so that at any given time you'll be able to see, how many of the standards have been submitted and how many have been reviewed and things like that, so that the users, whether they're signing in as camps or visitors, that they'll be able to get an idea, of how much more work has to be done and how much work has been done. So, just a little bit of a user feedback thing would be, I think, quite helpful as well. So. Somebody say something, otherwise.
Well, what I was thinking was, thank you very much. It looks great. It certainly sounds like it should do what we need it to do. And like you said at the beginning, we're going to learn a lot as we go along, and it will only get better. But you've built a good, solid platform for us to get started with. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Mike. But it's it's one of these things that it's also Microsoft has created this technology, and it's not hard coding, technology and things like that. And one of the nice things about this as time goes on, with relatively, with the, you have to have a little bit of a technical bent, but with a little bit of education behind it, a lot of this stuff can be done by people that don't necessarily have, full-blown programming backgrounds. I mean, there is some techniques to it, but by the same token, it's pretty much accessible technology, so, and has an awful lot of capabilities. So,
A couple of things I wanted to point out in the chat box, Don. Brian had mentioned, and this is definitely, you need to do this when you go for your visit, to take, I would take that, a hard copy of that worksheet, where you check off where it says seen, not seen. And that is probably the list that you and the peer and the medical visitor can decide together who is actually going to be the reporting person for each of those certain standards. So if the peer visitor is looking at all the administration and programming elements of the standards, and then our medical visitor is looking at all of the health and psychosocial parts of it, then make sure you communicate effectively with one another that, I got 1.1 through 5.1 and you've got 5.2 through 6.4, and each of you be the actual reporting person to give your answer feedback on that checklist, on that worksheet. The other thing is Brian had asked about if we had printing capability from this dashboard, but we don't, right, Don?
well, you can, I mean, Jen, you can print it by just, through your browser, right?
Okay, yeah, true.
But actually what I was just thinking about is, and
we could run a report, right?
Well, I think Brian just sort of kind of volunteered himself here to help work on a report that we could generate, say, a week or two before the visit, that would summarize all the information that's currently contained in the portal with file names and all the comments that are reviewed and accepted, and use that as a working document as you walk into the camp. So you'll be able to know right away what standards have been reviewed, what standards have been uploaded, and on and on and on. So, but Brian, welcome to the team.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal, but yeah, we can do that. I think that would be a great thing to do. I'll send you a couple of layouts, and anybody else wants to be involved, let me know, and we can just kind of fool around with some layouts of what would be most efficient and effective on site for you to use and work with. So, not being a visitor, I don't know. I'll just have to take your lead on these type of things. So, but I've got that down as a to-do item. Jen, when's the first visit going to be happening here? We're coming up pretty close.
It is actually June 10th, and that's the camp that I'm going with Marcy and Heather in Kentucky.
Well, I'm going to be down in the bowels of the Grand Canyon on the 10th of June, so you might be working on your own. So we'll get it done before then. Okay?
Yep.
Anything else? Well, I can't thank everybody enough for taking the time out to go through this. Hopefully we have at least the beginnings of a good working forum to make your jobs easier. I cannot express near enough the appreciation that COCA has for the participation of people that are willing to take personal time out to do things like this to make the association and the camp experience better across the board. There is absolutely no way this could be done without volunteers like yourselves. And
oh, wait a minute, Don. This is Melissa. We're not getting paid? Just kidding.
Well, maybe hush puppies and bourbon. How does that sound, Melissa?
No, wherever that camp is, I'm in.
Yeah, but anyways, I just want to thank you all very much. I can't, I'm not good at expressing myself from that standpoint. If you see anything that needs to be improved, can be improved, should be improved, we're here to make this happen for you. And thank God we've got Jennifer online because she kind of keeps things going straight and make sure we hit the deadlines. In the meantime, if there's anything we do, please reach out to either Jennifer or myself. And we'll do our best to support everything you're doing. So with
Thank
that,
y'all.
I want to thank everybody.
Yeah,
And wish
thank you.
a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Don.
It was wonderful talking to everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Elizabeth, are you still online? Nope, everybody's gone. Okay.
I'm actually still online.
Who's that?
Elizabeth.
Oh, hi, Elizabeth. The reason why I asked that, I think I will go ahead. That one, it's not you. It was Shirley Hummer. I'm sorry, I got confused.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
I think it went okay, don't you? Yeah. Okay, super. Yeah. There's some things there that we can improve on for sure. Yeah. And actually, Jen, it won't be that hard to put together a report a week or two before they go, right? It's got all the boxes filled in, and it'll make their visits a whole lot better, I think. So, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that was a great idea. So.